Good morning to another episode of Thursday Thoughts. Kevin, how you living today?
Well, I think you're making an unfair assumption there that it's morning for people. For us, it's 12 o'clock noon.
Ah, yes, yes.
And, I know we're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, on LinkedIn. So, it may be morning for some of our viewers, but not for all of them.
I'm big on the West Coast. I got a following out there. So
Well, good morning to the West Coast, and thank you for joining us on Thursday Thoughts.
everybody else, good afternoon, and we're gonna jump right into it. Let's go. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thursday Thoughts. Super excited to have you here with us. As you know, we always bring you thought leaders, industry experts, and all around amazing people to discuss all sorts of business-related topics to help you thrive. And today we have someone really awesome with us. But before we jump into inviting you to our guests, how you doing, Kevin?
When you said amazing people, I thought you were referring to me.
Mm-mm.
That's not me? Okay.
Mm.
Well, then I'm still doing great, even despite that slight from you. Now fall season is here. The weather it's not nice today, but the weather is generally getting better. Football season is here. Who can complain?
Right. So we'll hop right into it because we have a really awesome guest who we've worked with a lot before. We have a great relationship with McCallion Staffing, and today we are chatting with the one and only Lisa McCallion of McCallion Staffing. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Lisa right quick. Lisa is the president of McCallion Staffing Specialists, where she manages and supervises all aspects of the company, including finance, operations, sales, and marketing. She began with the company in 1999 as a director of marketing, spent 9 years as the company's VP of operations, and was elevated to president in 2011. Lisa is a true thought leader in the staffing industry as she continues to seek innovative ways to recruit, motivate, and retain candidates for temporary, temp to hire, and direct hire positions. Lisa handles McCallion's internal staff from hiring and firings to conflict resolution and salary negotiations, and also assists staff with delegation of work and responsibilities. Prior to working at McCallion Staffing, Lisa spent 17 years with Rich Food Rotel, working her way up from customer service to positions including account receivable clerk, purchasing assistant, bakery, perishable buyer, marketing coordinator, and eventually the office manager. Lisa is a graduate of St. Joe's University with a bachelor's of science in food and marketing. So her resume speaks for itself. She's amazing, awesome, and she's joining us today. How you doing, Lisa?
Good afternoon. Good to be with you guys.
Indeed. We're excited to have you. And we love that we have a good rapport with you. We go way back. I know from my side, we featured you on Get to Know Monco before. And Kevin, she's been a client working with Navitas in the past. So it's good to see you.
Navitas and the Homer Group.
Yeah, for a long time.
Yes.
Awesome. So we're super excited. Today, we're jumping into a conversation about how to win in the quest for candidates. The job market is crazy. It was kind of crazy beforehand, but we really want to talk about how can companies differentiate themselves and become the one that a candidate selects, and talk a little bit about just the atmosphere that we have going on right now in the country as it refers to jobs. So what we thought, Lisa, is we would kind of kick it off with kind of giving some comparison, talking a little bit about hiring today versus how hiring was in the pre-pandemic. So can you give us a little bit of insight into that?
Sure. Prior to the pandemic, the candidate pool was very low in the local area. In Bucks and Montgomery County, most employers were still having trouble finding employees. It was because everybody was working and it was a very low candidate pool. Right now, the current unemployment is insane. I mean, from the highs that we had during the pandemic, that has considerably dropped. The national unemployment right now is only 5.2%. It's 6.4%, so it is running a little higher. But then if you break it out into the suburbs, Bucks County is only 5.7% and Monco is only 4.9%. So it is a very tight market. And during the pandemic with unemployment, people being paid so much money to stay home, everybody got very comfortable with that. and people were used to getting the checks from the state as well as from the federal government. So they were used to making close to $20 an hour, and there's really not a lot of motivation for many people to go back to work right now. The problems we're seeing that were pre and post pandemic is the people that do want to go back to work that might not have a car or access to a car every day. The public transportation here in the suburbs is not very good. So that can be a hindrance for a lot of people and a lot of companies to attract candidates. And I know even the traffic within the suburbs, we noticed a lot of people during the pandemic when they were home or working remotely, they said, oh, I have so much more time in my day without my commute. Because even if they're staying within the suburb and not going to the city, they might have, only commuted 10 or 12 miles, but it was a 45-minute to an hour commute just with the traffic. So now they're used to not sitting in traffic, and people are saying, oh, I don't know if I want to go back to that again. So there's all these different factors that are working in there. Another big issue, and I know it's gotten some press lately, is the amount of people that have retired.
Right.
The population, our baby boomers is our largest population sector, and 1.7 million retired early during the pandemic. So this is a huge number. So right now there's over 30 million baby boomers out of the job market, which is a huge chunk of the population.
Wow.
So, and the amount of babies being born every year has been decreasing for decades. So there's not enough people coming up into the market looking for jobs. So it was tight prior to the pandemic, but a lot of people got scared and just said, the heck with it, I'm going to retire early for safety reasons. And you can't blame people, but it's been really, really trying for employers that are trying to fill these jobs.
Right. That's a tough sort of like, I guess I would call it like a perfect storm of issues that have all kind of come together. And it seemed like it was heading that direction even before the pandemic, but that was like, a major sort of fuel to that fire of like, this isn't going in the right direction.
Exactly. And then we used to hear different problems prior to the pandemic with people having issues finding childcare. The price of daycare was very expensive. Maybe finding one that they liked or was convenient for them. And now, after the pandemic, with all the kids that were virtual and had to be homeschooled, that made it really difficult because one parent had to be home at all times, and all the daycares were closed. Now we're hearing some daycares did not reopen, which is really a shame due to financial reasons. And the other ones, a lot of them are very short staffed, so they can't take as many kids into the programs as they normally did.
Right.
So it's everything's back open again, but nothing is working the way it's supposed to work at this point.
Man. So, I mean, for me, when I'm driving around, wherever I go, I always see these like now hiring signs. Like, I'm like, all right, I'm not looking for work, but like, I figure anyone out there that is looking for work, there's no shortage of places to go. But I never really thought of like all the hurdles that those folks may have now that they might not have had before.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that was good for you to touch on those.
I think the baby boomers and their retiring that's definitely one aspect I hadn't really thought about. I mean, some of it's pretty obvious. We know childcare is an issue. We know that the extra the government supplemented income it was something to battle. We know that people getting used to and wanting to work remotely, which a lot of companies have definitely shifted to that remote or hybrid model, but there are some that just aren't able to offer that. Some of that stuff's obvious, but I never really thought about how many applicants have we lost just because of, age and retirement. Those are a really interesting point. And, Zach, it just seems like everybody's hiring right now. And I always laugh when I'm in the local Facebook groups and people actually post and say, does anybody know anyone hiring? And I'm like, everybody. Hello. How do I answer that? Everyone.
Right.
I know there isn't an easy answer to the solution because I know there's over 10 million open jobs right now nationally. There's not 10 million people looking for work. I think the number is more like maybe 6 or so that might not even be that high that are actually looking for work. So there's always going to be this inequality, and I don't know what the solution is to get to that point. Yeah. I really don't.
And it's so weird. It's so weird that we're having this conversation. I mean, I feel like when you talk about applicants and hiring companies, like the conversation is always on the applicant side. It's always, how do you make yourself look more appealing for a job? It's always about the candidates. It's never about the hiring companies. And now it's a total flip that it's the companies that are struggling, not the applicants. It's just such a strange, it's so bizarre that we're having this conversation, but it's such an important one. I'm glad we are.
It is. It's very important. And it's a candidate market right now, and they know it.
Right. And that's a great segue for us to jump into keys to becoming an ideal workplace. So what are some of these elements that really set apart entities that are looking to hire so they kind of win? And these first two that we're going to dive into is flexible scheduling and safety concerns. So tell us a little bit about that, Lisa.
The flexible scheduling, we've heard a lot of that, and that goes back to a lot of plays into some of the previous things I said with people, if there are transportation issues, and we do hear of a lot of people that are sharing cars within their family, so they need the schedules flexible. So if the one person can use the car when the other person comes home. So if somebody's running a few minutes late, if they could have like an hour or so in between to get a car, that would really help. So the flexible schedule, and a lot of people just can't work a normal 9-to-5 job or 8 to 4:30 job. Who's getting the children on the school bus? Who's got to pick up at daycare by a certain time? There's so many different things that go into a person picking a job that the flexible scheduling is ideal for a lot of people. But I know for especially manufacturers and companies that work on strict schedules, the healthcare industry, if they have set shifts, you really can't be flexible because you have to have so many people on the floor at once. So it can limit some people because they just need that flexibility.
And that, is just an added limitation on top of the fact that you don't have as many people applying.
Right.
So now you have a shorter list of candidates that also have greater needs, which again, some companies just can't work within. So yeah, now it's fully coming full circle why we're having this bottleneck and this issue. The next thing you had on here was safety concerns. Let's dive into that a little bit.
A lot of people are still very scared by COVID with, good reason to be, we understand. And now to make it even worse, we have with the government mandate about vaccines now, and now we're seeing a lot of companies in the local area are requiring vaccines. And it makes it, once again, it makes it really difficult. Your pool of people is very, very small. Now, if you're going to require that they have a vaccine, and I understand why you want to require that, but there's a lot of people that have chosen not to get the vaccine for one reason or another. So you're eliminating them. And then we have heard of companies who are terminating people if they don't have the vaccine by a certain date, which is a shame for the people. They might have worked at this company forever. And so they're going to lose a great worker. And then it's a predicament either way around. And then some people, we hear both sides of the story. Some people want everybody to be vaccinated in the company for their own safety. Other people say, no, I don't want to be vaccinated. Yes, they want to wear a mask. No, they don't want to wear a mask. And then they ask who's going to provide the mask. And, a lot of companies, they should, if they're requiring masks, they should provide them just in case. Most people have their own by now, but just in case, if you can provide any necessary PPE, if you want to wear face shields or gloves or whatever it is best if the companies provide it. They know that everybody will have it then. They can't say, oh, I forgot it. If it's there every day in a box to pick from, that eliminates a lot of excuses. Their quality PPE equipment, and it makes everybody feel safer, I think, in the environment.
Right. So in terms of some other topics to become an ideal workplace, salaries and hybrid model. Let's talk a little bit about the salaries part.
The salaries are just crazy right now. People who were making maybe $12, $13 an hour prior to the pandemic, they want $20 an hour now because that's what they were getting for staying at home. So, and their skills don't warrant it, and it's really ridiculous. Where they think since they got it once, they should get it again. And what's happening is companies who have tried to keep their salaries where they were prior to the pandemic, just because that's what all their employees are making right now, they're finding that they have to raise the salary to get new employees to come in. But then the existing employees they of course want to raise because now they're making less than a new hire. And then they're jumping ship. The quit ratio is huge right now. Every company is experiencing a lot of turnover because they can get a better salary going to a brand new company at a new rate. So it's putting a big squeeze on all businesses, large and small. And it's really hard because every business allocates so much money for salary. And if you're way over your budget, where do you make up that money?
Right.
Don't have enough people, you can't get the job done. So it's really a predicament. A lot of the economists say this is going to go back to normal in 2023. But what do you do between now and 2023? A company might not survive.
Right. Right. I'm kind of glad I'm not an HR professional. I feel like those folks are in a tough spot. Like,
Oh, they are. They're in a really tough spot.
oh man. We also had on this list the hybrid model being an ideal thing that workplaces can do to be more attractive. Can you talk on that?
Sure. A lot of companies that had never had remote workers before brought in 100% remote during COVID, and now a lot of them are going to hybrid. And it seems to work really well, and the employees really enjoy it. And I know you can't do that with every business. You can't do it with healthcare, you can't do it with manufacturing and other jobs, retail, because you need people there on site. The hospitality business, but the businesses that can do it, or maybe even just certain departments within a company, if you can do it, it's very advantageous. Even now, people, with back to the child care issue, if your child has a fever or a cold, you can't send them to school. So if that person can work from home, you're still getting productivity out of them, but they can also take care of their child at the same time. And if they're not feeling well, just for safety reasons, they can stay home and work from home. So it's definitely a win-win for the companies that can do this for certain positions, or if they can do it for all the jobs. It's really, really a good idea.
Gotcha. So let's shift a little bit because when we had our chat, this kind of relates to hybrid model a little bit. You were talking about some of these companies who, I guess, from my view, are thriving, and it's due to what you call the Amazon effect. And this has a lot to do with gig work and that's flexible schedule that we discussed a little bit more. So can you dive a little deeper into what the Amazon effect is?
Sure. Amazon is opening warehouses in the suburbs like every couple months. It's crazy how many they're opening. And prior to the pandemic, a lot of companies were losing their employees to Amazon. And a lot of it, it's a lot of factors. Amazon does pay well. They'll take just about anybody. You really don't need any experience. It could lead to a really nice career, move up the ladder, but you have huge name recognition. They run all kinds of commercials all over, television, YouTube, everywhere that other companies can't afford to do or don't have the power to do that. So they have huge name recognition. So Amazon has been hiring like crazy. The pandemic, their business really went up. So now they're at the point where they're up to paying, they're starting people at $18 an hour for no experience. They're giving sign-on bonuses. They announced last week that they're going to do tuition reimbursement for full-timers and part-timers. So, I mean, for anybody that's looking for a job and wants these things, it's ideal. And their scheduling is extremely flexible. They actually have an app that the employees download and they put in there when they want to work. And I understand there are some people that don't have that flexibility. They have to work set shifts. And I know they've been playing with some people's shifts. But for a lot of people, especially if you can only work part-time due to school or transportation issues or whatever it is, it's very, very flexible. So of course that makes Amazon stand out as extremely appealing compared to all these other jobs. Where
Right.
you don't have an app and you can't pay me $18 an hour. You don't have tuition reimbursement. So it's making it hard. And I know a lot of employers in the suburbs are constantly cursing Amazon because they're losing employees to Amazon.
Yeah. That's tough because like, how do you compete? Like, maybe there's that element of raising, what you're paying your employees, but like, you're not about to develop an app to make it easier for them to schedule time.
Exactly.
A lot of scenarios you can't be flexible with the time. So I'm curious, like, for the businesses that don't have the flexibility, like, are they just doomed? Like, what is the next step for them?
The best thing is, I think, to set themselves apart if you can and show what makes you look different. Amazon does have very strict metrics. And we've heard from some people, if you can't keep up with the speed, how they want you to pick the orders or pack the orders, they'll ride your butt about it, and you'll probably get fired. So somebody that doesn't want to be micromanaged, you're better off somewhere else. Somebody that doesn't want to work for a huge conglomerate. If you want to work for a small company where everybody knows your name, good morning, they know your family, just more of a close knit atmosphere. It's great to promote that. Amazon, there's a lot of red tape to go through, and it's not an easy place to work. So, I mean, if companies just really promote themselves, anything they do different. Do you provide free breakfast? Do you provide free lunches? Do you have snacks? Do you do Christmas parties and summer picnics, or anything that makes you different and you make somebody feel more at home? I think that's very beneficial. If your benefit program has something special in it, I would really, promote that as well. Maybe
Right.
the work environment, if it's very clean, if there's a lot of social distancing, if it's brand new facility and everybody can spread out, state of the art equipment, um, anything like that. It's hard, I know, for companies because some of them might be in old buildings and the equipment's old, but you have to try to think what about you would set you off, compared, and maybe just always compare yourself to an Amazon.
Right. Right. And I think I'll do a quick shameless plug for all the companies out there that are looking to hire in that method. If you would like to create some sort of video content to help tell people how great your company is, call us here at Navitas. We're happy to assist. But what are your thoughts, Kevin? Anything you would do like in that effort, or what would you do if you were in a scenario where you're trying to hire, you're struggling to find that right individual? What shifts would you make?
I think Lisa's list was great. The other thing that I would add, which here's my marketing mind. We're always pushing for companies to get testimonials about from clients of things that they do. Why was our work great, our product or service, and I think that goes into hiring also. I think if there's a way to show that our current staff, our current team has a good type of culture and they're happy working here, and maybe it's we're a small business and we have that family feeling, whatever helps you stand apart from that perspective. If you can't, like Lisa said, maybe you can't focus on the old building or the old machinery or whatever you might have, but if you can just show, and by way of testimonials, videos, whatever it might be, to show like this is still a great place to work, we're happy here, we're family, we enjoy working together. I think culture is so important to people. And I think that if you have the right culture, which hopefully you do, that's a good thing to focus on also, in addition to, benefits and, anything else that you might have.
Exactly. And another thing too, since people just really don't seem to want long commutes anymore, everybody wants to be as close to home as possible. Really try to advertise in your community a lot with signage outside. If there's a community event like a fall fest or something in your community, go to that. If you're not allowed to put up a table, maybe hand out cards, flyers. Just really try to focus on local. I know a lot of people think, oh, if I use Indeed or CareerBuilder or the national job boards, I'll get the people. But there's so many jobs, you're competing with all the big boys then. Try to bring it down more local and go after your community. Another big thing is referrals. Try to get referrals from existing employees, maybe past employees that retired. Hey, we hear referral bonuses, they're paying people $100 to $1,000 for referral. So if you know somebody and they, maybe their nephew or this person or that person, really go after previous employees and present employees and ask them who they know and reward them. If you can't do cash, maybe give them a comp day off, whatever you can do to get your name out there, and everybody knows somebody. And we've heard of one company in the area that's a great idea. They're rewarding their employees if they advertise on their Facebook feed about the jobs that are open. They're giving them $25 every time they put it on their feed. So even that, I mean, it's a minimal expense, and you never know. Once again, it'll probably be local people. And it's just really a great way to get your name out there.
Kevin, I'm ready to share something for Navitas hiring right now. What you got? You took $20 from me in fantasy football last week. I need to earn it back.
You do need to, but I would not recommend making that same bet with me again.
Oh man, this is some great information, Lisa. I really do appreciate it. We didn't have any questions coming in, folks. By all means, please continue to like, share this video, whether it be on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and you can always still send in questions even if you're watching this later. We can directly connect you to Lisa, or if it's something me and Kevin can answer, we're happy to. But are there any other little parting facts or tidbits you want to give people, Lisa?
The only thing is that the market is extremely tight right now. We've never seen a market like this in probably, I don't know, 50 years or so. So I know companies are frustrated, and I think they believe it's them. They're not appealing to people. It's not. I mean, that's why Amazon and UPS and FedEx are spending thousands and thousands of dollars right now trying to recruit people. Mm-hmm. So if they can't hire them, anybody in the little guys can't hire the people either. Right. So don't take it personally. Just keep doing what you're doing and really bring it down smaller. Try to go local. You have a much better shot than trying to go, doing 2 or 3 counties at a time.
Right.
Or I'll totally flip that around, Lisa, because this is something we've seen, especially with our internship program, because we have had the ability to go remote. It's actually expanded our applicant pool because now I don't care where you're located. So obviously, for certain jobs, has to be in person, as we already talked about, and totally agree. Focus on that local market where that the commute will not be a deterrent. On the flip side, if you are able to go remote or even have specific positions available to go remote, even if other individuals can't, now we can expand. I mean, we've always pushed for our interns to be at a local college, coming from the Montgomery County area, the Chester County area, Philadelphia area. Since the pandemic started, we've had interns in New York, we've had interns in Boston and down in Washington, D.C. We have an employee working for us right now from New Jersey who started off as an intern, and then we hired him to stay on. So, it can kind of go both ways. Lisa, right. You're absolutely correct. But if you can go that remote route, which we know, as we talked about, has its benefits also, that can really expand your market too.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, folks, this has been another great episode of Thursday Thoughts. I'm super excited that we got to have this really important chat. Make sure you get in contact with McCallion Staffing. You can do that on Facebook. We have let me put it back up on the screen there, at McCallion Staffing on Facebook. You can also go to McCallionStaffing.com. And Lisa, what's your email, Lisa, if people want to reach out to you directly?
It's lmccallion@McCalliongroup.com.
McCalliongroup.com. So make sure you reach out to her if you guys have any questions. And yeah, we actually have an awesome speaker coming in next week. We're going to have Keisha Butler Thomas from Life Coach Keish. We're actually going heavy on social media next month. She is a social media guru, and we're going to be talking a little bit about how businesses can use social to their advantage, especially for you solo entrepreneurs out there. So stay tuned for that next month. Again, Lisa, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Dr. Kevin.
Indeed. And we'll see the rest of you next month. Any parting words, Kevin? I don't want to cut you out.
No, you guys crushed it. Thank you, everyone who joined. For anybody hiring out there, good luck. It will get better one day. And Lisa, awesome tips. So hopefully expands, some mindsets of, how to do things just a little bit differently when you're trying to hire. And, again, good luck. It will get better.
That's true. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.